and smiled that frown away. Welcome, brothers and sisters. I'm Stephen Fales, and I'm a Mormon. And that is why I smile like this. And if you haven't guessed by now, I'm a gay Mormon, which I think makes me an oxymoron. Now, my last name, Fales, F-A-L-E-S, not F-A-I-L-S, comes from Old Welsh, meaning son of Fagel. Now, Fagel, also pronounced Fagala, means to be glad, which is a synonym for happy or gay, which is also why I smile like this. I was just excommunicated from my church. Apparently, the brethren didn't like some of the folks I was smiling at. Playwright Edward Albee once noted, "Sometimes we have to go out of the way a long distance to come back a short distance correctly." And this proves undoubtedly true for Stephen, who finds that hiding who you are is never the best option, and loving ourselves is really all that matters. Confessions of a Mormon Boy by Stephen Fales. Now, one of my favorite things to do as a kid was to watch our Mormon mascots, Donnie and Marie, on the television every Sunday night. Now, while most boys my age wanted to be Donnie and marry Marie, I wanted to marry Donnie and be Marie. I was teased incessantly on the schoolyard, for acting like a girl. So when I was about 8, my father really poured on the steam and he put me in the Little League. And he taught me how to hit and run like a man. Well, he tried. Like all other good Mormon boys, though, I went to BYU for college. That's Brigham Young University, for those of you who don't know. Trust me, we all go there. I got a partial voice scholarship, and I paid the rest of the bills by being a model for the BYU art department. But the real reason I went was to find a wife. I mean, according to the book, you can't get into heaven if you don't have a good wife. So I waited. I waited to find my eternal female companion. Hi, Bishop. It's Brother Fales. No, Fales. F as in fabulous. I don't think I can keep my church calling. Well, I'm not worthy. I had sexual relations with a guy. He told me that he would gladly pay for my therapy and to stay away from that predator, and he got me this book. Reparative Therapy of Male Homosexuality. It said that homosexuality was both preventable and treatable. It gave me hope. Like I was going to be okay. So after I was through reading it, I threw myself back into school and I started dating girls. A year later, I met Emily Pearson. And I mean, what a catch. I mean, she was tall and she was blonde and she was gorgeous. Everything that you could want for the mother of your children and more. And because her mother, Carol Lynn Pearson, was a famous Mormon writer, she's what we like to call Mormon royalty. Carol Lynn Pearson. There is an interesting name for you. Her most famous work was her novel, Goodbye, I Love You. This told the story of the relationship that she had with her gay husband, Gerald. After 4 children, they divorced, but they remained close friends. Gerald was part of that first wave of men in San Francisco that they couldn't save, that got AIDS. And then she brought him back home, and she nursed him until his death. So, after a long Mormon engagement, 4 whole months, we were married, and we were sealed for time and eternity. Now, by custom, I took my provider role seriously, even though my father said that getting my Master of Fine Arts in acting was like getting my degree in recess, and that I would never be a good provider, and that I would never get by on just my smile. And it was about this time I noticed that I had stopped smiling. And I looked over at Emily, and I noticed that she had stopped smiling too. I mean, heck, when was the last time she smiled on our honeymoon? She knew. She knew. She just shut down, so I cracked. At about age 30. I mean, maybe I could have stayed in that little box of mine a little bit longer, but I cracked. I mean, I hadn't fallen in love with anyone. But I had committed adultery. I'm not proud of that. So to show Emily that I was repentant, I turned myself in again. And I remember on the day of my church court, checking in with the secretary at the desk, and she sat behind this pane of glass, and it made me feel so clinical. You know, like, how had it all come down to this? A cold pane of glass. Would I be excommunicated? I mean, all I had ever wanted to be was a good man and to do what was right. So they lead me to the head of this big oak table, and they sit me down next to the stake president, and he has his secretary read the charge. Homosexuality. You know, I was surprised they even used the word. I told them everything. I finally got to speak my truth. And when I was done, they had a few questions to ask. What was my most spiritual experience? My wedding day. No question. Standing at that altar with Emily at my side. What a sacrifice. I cried like a little girl through the whole ceremony. Had I ever had sex with a minor? No. No, I'm into doctors and lawyers, not kids. Had I ever sexually abused my son? My son? You know, I was as good of a father as anyone else in that room. What? Did they ask that question to straight men? Did they ask them if they sexually abused their daughters? You know, I looked them straight in the eye. No. No. They asked me to leave the room so that they could pray. You know, with 12 million members in Mormonism, I guess I was expendable. They brought me back in 10 minutes when they decided to excommunicate me. And as I left the building, I held on to the doorknob. I tried so hard. When I took my hand off, I knew it was over. You know, I don't really remember all that happened that day. I just remember how I felt. And I wasn't expecting to feel this way. Their voices just faded out, and this feeling of peace and tranquility just washed over me. And another voice faded in, and it was mine. Stephen, I know who you are. And you are so much bigger than any of this. For the first time in a really long time, I smiled. And it was my smile.